You are listening to another AlwaysMoto production.
The AlwaysMoto podcast with your host, David Hogan. We talk moto events from around the world. All the injuries, all the training ins and outs, the bikes, parts and gear inspections. The results, we interview your favourite riders. It's the AlwaysMoto podcast. We occasionally have some coarse language and the odd stuff up along the way. If you don't like it or you don't agree with us, turn it off right now.
I'd like to remind you that he is not a doctor.
Well, that's right, Moto fans. This is episode 171 of the AlwaysMoto podcast, proudly presented by TechnicMotorsport.com. I'm your host, David Hogan, the Australian physiotherapist that knows the injuries and fitness needs of our sport of motocross and supercross. And as always on the show, we're going to go through everything and anything moto because it's always about moto on the AlwaysMoto network. This week, we're going to talk about the Australian AUSXOpen that's just been run down there in Marvel this past weekend. It was a busy weekend down there for us covering the action. Hopefully, you kept up with it across our social channels. We're going to also talk about this weekend that's coming up. It's World Supercross time for Gold Coast this weekend, as well as the Australian Supercross. It's the final round down there in Adelaide. We'll touch on where the championship is for the Australian Supercross side of things. Unfortunately, we can't be in two places at once, so we're going to head to Gold Coast this weekend and check out World Supercross. We've done 4 rounds of the Australian Supercross, so it's time we're going to check in and catch up with our world counterparts and see what's going on in that side of the scene for the Supercross and the off-season races that are on right now. No interview this week, unfortunately. We're trying to set up about 3 different ones, but unfortunately, just with the time constraints we've got this week, particularly, as it's a short sort of turnaround, everyone's traveling either from Melbourne to Adelaide or Melbourne to Gold Coast, or then all the internationals are coming to the Gold Coast, and they've got a lot of travel to get down to here, obviously. A lot of them coming from America, so they've got a fair trek on their hands to get here, and we weren't just able to time things rightly for any of the guests that we tried to line up, unfortunately. But hopefully it means we're going to get plenty of coverage from them at press day and post race, because I've tried to make sure that they're going to make up for it afterwards. We'll see how that all works out. But we're going to just be me solo, the contractor as well. He's traveling as well. Everybody's traveling this week. He's in Sydney or thereabouts at the moment. He's got a flight tomorrow morning to get himself up to the Gold Coast as well. So flying solo this week. But that's all right. We're going to be able to pull it off here. That's what we've done for plenty of times in the past. Now, watching the racing on the weekend, obviously all those bikes, they're handling those tracks, some better than others, potentially because of their suspension setups. Now, what do these riders and teams all have in common? Well, they're using KYB or Showa suspension parts, and they're servicing them with genuine parts and accessories. Now, KYB and Showa have an Australian distributor, and that's TechnicMotorsport.com, and they're in Sydney. So why would you use non-genuine seals, wipers, bushes, and other consumables when these genuine parts are generally available right now from the TechnicMotorsport.com website, and you can get them shipped to you basically the next day. These parts, they perform better and they are easily available via that TechnicMotorsport.com website. If you're international, that's okay. They have a currency converter on their website. They ship daily with DHL and they ship to most countries. So TechnicMotorsport.com is your place to go for all your suspension needs. So check it out. All right, don't forget our other sponsors as well. Of course, we've got Technic Motorsport, we just mentioned. We've got Duramoose on board. Messaged Peter the other day. We're going to try and set up a podcast for next week so that we can get that done and get you that inspection article and stuff out as well. Got them on the Sherco now. They're performing really nicely. I had a ride the other day to test and take some photos. Can't complain about the Duramooses. They're perfect. Now, mooses are not cheap. I'll give you that much up in advance. But we have a discount code with Duramoose. You need to check out our show notes or a link in our bio, or send me a message and I'll get you that discount code so that you can purchase via the Duramoose, or it's the Outdoor Primal website that you will get Duramooses from. And you can put in this discount code, get yourself 10% off on your purchase. So if you want to save on some mooses, hit me up. I've got a code for you. Don't forget pivotpegs.com as well. Those pegs that pivot around under your feet and make it so your boots soles don't wear out so quick and make it easy on your riding. Check out Pivot Pegs. I've got them on the Sherco. They're well worth having. Competitive Edge Performance, they're your training performance edge as well. And Tech 167 3D printing, they make cool stuff for your bike and your servicing. They've got heaps of cool stuff. They're always adding to the products. Joel there at Tech 167, he's a mechanic. He's in the trenches working away all the time. He's coming up with new ways to hold tools, hold different pieces as you're trying to undo it, make his life easier. He's printing these things up. He's got some very cool pieces that he can customize as well. He's done some nice pieces with our AlwaysMoto logo just printed into them, which is super cool. Nothing like having your race number or your name or your logo, like the AlwaysMoto logo, on your own piece of equipment. One, it means that you know it's yours, but two, it's just a personal touch. It's awesome. So check out Tech 167 3D printing on their socials to find them as well. Now, support the show. We need support of the show, right? We need to keep these lights on. We've got one pointing on me right now. That's how we see my face here. But we've got these AlwaysMoto t-shirts. They are $25 plus postage and handling. So they generally work out about $37 to you. That's Australian dollars. We'll get that sent out to you. But you need to email me at info@alwaysmoto.com. Put t-shirt order in the subject line and we will get you a t-shirt sent out ASAP. The payment's via PayPal. Now, if you don't want a t-shirt, that's okay. You can just send us a donation via our PayPal account. That link, as well as all those other supporters that we just mentioned there, and those discount codes that go along with some of those sites, are available in those show notes. So check out that for the PayPal link and you can donate direct there. All right, one last thing. If you haven't already subscribed to this YouTube channel, you should do. You should be liking each video when we're watching it. Now, we got a bunch more viewers and subscribers over the weekend from our AUSX coverage. Thank you to all you out there watching and listening now because of that. Appreciate your support. Hopefully you can stick around and see what we're going to do for the next few weeks here, as well as not just our World Supercross coverage, but we've got other things in the works here, from inspection articles, and then obviously we'll have our shows that we do, our emergency department shows that we do throughout the AMA. Obviously we're not at the AMA events every weekend. Unfortunately, it's not possible for us here in Australia, but we've got plenty of coverage that we will bring to you across that season, track reviews, all that sort of stuff. So there's plenty to come here on the AlwaysMoto YouTube channel. All right, let's get into the main part of the show. Enough with that intro stuff. All right, the Lawrence effect. Always at the AUSX, the last 2 years, it's been the Lawrence effect on the crowd. We had 42 to 45,000 last year. It was a massive pressure build up of ticket sales that led to that event being massive. Obviously, they had that first Motocross of Nations win, that first SMX title for Jet, the Supercross title for Jet as well. Hunter being second in the Super Motocross playoff series there as well. It was a massive thing that they went through last year to get to that point, and it was the first time that they'd come back to the country in something like 9 or 10 years at that point. So the crowd was massive last year. This year it was still big, but not quite to the same extent. We're about 10,000 down on last year. We're in that 30, 32 range. So not quite to the heights we were previously. And the top deck of that stadium, unfortunately, you could tell it wasn't quite the same as the ticket sales from the previous year, but it was still a well-attended event. Now, talking to Jet post-race, if you haven't checked out our post-race interviews from this weekend at Marvel Stadium, we got Jet on the coverage. We had to patiently wait, thanks to Benny, the contractor, helping me out with the video on this one. We were patiently waiting in the hallway outside their change rooms, deep inside of Marvel Stadium there. We managed to get Jet very late in the night. It was about, 11 o'clock or something, I think it was, when we finally got the interview with Jet. But he did mention that they probably aren't coming back next year, which that probably means that they've already decided that that's not going to be on the cards. And that's been rumoured for a week or so after the Paris round of Supercross as well, through other media outlets. So Jet's basically confirming there for us that they won't be back in 2026, which, look, that's unfortunate. That's their choice as well. They obviously get paid well by the AME group to come and participate in this event. But you can't do it every year. They need to take a break at some point, and that's fair on their side of things. They're paying attention to their bodies and their travel schedules and all that sort of stuff. They need to be able to keep their, as Jet said, he's got a 5-year contract that he's just signed with Honda, that he needs to be able to fulfill those obligations first and foremost. So he needs to do that to the best of his ability. And sometimes, essentially going to these overseas races, which now, because much as it's coming back to Australia is his home, it's an overseas race from there where they're living at the present, and that starts to burn the candle at both ends for them. So they can't do that all the time. So that will mean that next year, I'm curious as to what that effect has, that Lawrence effect that we've had for the crowd and the ticket sales recently. what that will happen in 2026. My thoughts are that if they don't get a number of big names to fill the void of the Lawrences, we will not see that crowd attendance number anywhere near what it's been in these past 2 seasons. If they don't get like 4 to 5 guys to fill this void, and maybe one of those has to be a Hayden Deegan, maybe one of those has to be Jason Anderson coming back or thereabouts, that is what's going to bring in these guys, like the crowd, to come back down. If they don't have anyone, if they just have 1 or 2 or lower level guys to come and fill those voids, we'll be lucky if we get 20,000, and that's going to look terrible in that massive Marvel Stadium. So I think AME Group's got their work cut out for them in the next few months to try and sign up a lot of overseas talent to come and fill the void that the Lawrences will leave, obviously in the budget and in the eye of the supporters that would come and attend the event, to fill that void, because it's going to be massive if they don't turn up, as we expect they won't after Jet's comments. So interesting to see how that goes, but let's hope that the Marvel round, the AUSXOpen round in 2026, doesn't end up being a massive flop, because there is unfortunately potential for that at this stage. But these past 2 years have been awesome. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. The crowds have been insane. The racing's been really good. The tracks have been awesome. Everyone's been having a good event. Obviously, all the Americans that have come down and participated have all spoken about how the stadium is wonderful, massive floor plan, track size, length. It's over a minute in lap times, generally speaking, or thereabouts. So it's a full AMA sort of setup. It's good practice for them leading into the preseason. So they've enjoyed it. We just need to make sure that it's well attended in the future years when the Lawrences don't attend. All right, let's talk about the race itself. It was a pretty cool night down there. Jet Lawrence getting it done in the SX1 class. Nobody was even close to him all day, basically. He was 1-1 in the 2 main events, but he was also the fastest qualifier. He also won his heat race. Jet obviously had a little bee in his bonnet about not winning that particular event in a couple of previous years that he's attended. He attended obviously once in his rookie year, before his rookie season in the AMA in the 250 class. Didn't get the win there. He attended last year, had a little issue, didn't even finish the event. Hunter got the win last year. So Jet had a bee in his bonnet that obviously he had to get this win to tick it off the list, as they say. And he definitely did that throughout the night there in Marvel. Nobody was close to him. He was very good through the whoop section, as you'd expect, and very good just generally through the whole track. Now, if anyone has heard those discussions about how smooth and how low in the rev range someone like Jet, Hunter, and even Kenny, how they're very smooth riders, if you were able to be close enough to the trackside, as I was at some points through the night taking photos, the one part that I noticed the most was in the sand section, where most guys were obviously trying to get on the throttle hard, get the drive, and fanning the clutch to come out of that, to dig through the sand there, because you're obviously able to rip into it a fair bit. Jet was whisper quiet through that section. It was kind of scary how quiet that bike was through that area of the track. He was just carrying momentum from the moment he touched the sand all the way through. No major jerky movements of anything. Clutch, throttle, body position, bike angle, nothing. It was just all smooth most of the laps. Not every lap was perfect, but the most of the laps that I was standing there, you could barely tell he went through that section. So that was really, really impressive. From Hunter's side of things, he didn't quite have the good night and a repeat of the previous year. He did have a bad start in the first main event and took his time to work through. Had an average start in the second one. Had a bit of a run there with Mossy, who was on fire for the evening, getting good starts and then running up front. But Hunter managed to work his way safely past him and end up third on the night, because Dean Wilson actually got a better run in the first moto over Hunter that gave him the edge for the podium. So it was Jet, Dino, and Hunter Lawrence, the top 3 in SX1. In SX2, it was a bit of a turn-up. We've had very much a run of Lux Turner from the start of the SX2 class in Australian Supercross. Unfortunately for Lux, he didn't make it out of the first qualifying session. We'll talk about that in a second, but for the night, the win went to Cole Thompson, the man who's been flown in for a couple of rounds here. Only the 2 rounds here by Empire Kawasaki. He did the Cronulla round, had one little issue in that probably affected him getting on the podium at Cronulla, but he made up for it in spades in Melbourne. and got his second win in Australia. It's been quite a few years between. Again, we spoke to Cole afterwards on our post race. I think he said it was back in 2022 with Serco Yamaha that he got his first win in the SX2 class. And then he's had nothing but seconds and thirds ever since, pretty much. And so this was a nice one for him to tick off. Probably Australia's biggest supercross race, being Marvel Stadium. And he got the job done there with a 1-3 score. So good night for Cole Thompson. We also had Shane McElrath with a bit of a rebound in the second motor there after a horrible start in the first one to take the win there. He went 4-1 on the night, and then Ryder Kingsford was in there as well on third, and taking over the points lead there was Ryder Kingsford with his Yamaha there. In the SX3 class, again, another bit of an issue. We'll talk about Cade Kingsford in a second here as well, but he wasn't able to finish out the main event. But Ryder Malinowski was the man in SX3 at this particular round. He was obviously carrying the momentum from Cronulla that he gained by taking the win there. He also got the win here in Marvel. He got a really good start when it counted in the main event, and he led every lap and just took this one all the way to the end. I think some of the videos that I've seen of Ryder Malinowski over the break where he was training at Club MX, obviously with his Club MX teammates there ahead of the 2026 AMA season, I think that gave him a lot of confidence and a lot of intensity that he might have been lacking, and just focused in on obviously the starts. The starts were where he's lacked in those other results where he got bad starts in Redcliffe and then one poor result there. But after all is said and done, leaving Melbourne, as we worked out on the post-race show, Ryder Malinowski is your points leader by 3 points in the SX3 class. So let's pull those scores up now. I'm going to just switch our screens over here for a second. So we're going to get these up. Now, this is our SX1 points score for the championship here, as you can see on screen. Dean Wilson is leading this one. Now, Dino is basically 8 points from wrapping this up. So if he scores if he pretty much makes the first main event in Adelaide, he is your SX1 champion. But as we're going to say here, it's never over till it's over in Supercross, because as you'll find out in the other classes, things changed quickly. So Cedric Subaros is in second here, and I think he's, after speaking to him as well post-race, he's happy but not stoked on his performance, but he's still getting used to and familiar with the Honda Australia setup, and also all of our venues, tracks, travel schedules, all that sort of stuff. I think if he gets an opportunity to come back next year with Urive, one, he's going to take it, but two, I think you'll see a much better Cedric Subaros in 2026 than what you're seeing right now, because he'll have that experience under his belt. But the man that's the talking point here that I want to really raise, because it's pretty cool, privateer Hayden Melross is currently third in the championship for SX1. He's had some phenomenal rides throughout the early part of the season. He's been on the podium at Redcliffe, and he's leading that, he's third. He's the first privateer, so he's leading that privateer cup that they've got going on for the Australian Supercross by a hell of a long way. But he's beating names like Dylan Walsh, Mitchell Harrison, Luke Clout, Aaron Tanti, Phil Nicoletti. Those guys are all on factory bikes here in Australia, and he is not, and he is in front of them all. So, and he's got a reasonable gap over fourth place Dylan Walsh. So, well done, Hayden Melross, mate. You're doing an awesome job. Hopefully you can get 2 more solid motos here in Adelaide this weekend and hold on to that third place, because that would be something really cool to, you've come back from a few injuries recently, you made your way back into it with your family and everything. This would be a nice one to tick things off. So well done there, Hayden Melross. All right, let's flip over to, we'll just get the mouse to catch up to us, SX2 point scores. As you can see, Lux Turner, no longer your points leader. He missed out. He had a big crash in that first qualifying, as we alluded to earlier. I walked back into the stadium after being out at the Stephen Gore book launch, and as I walked into the stadium, all I could see was this Yamaha hanging from the netting at the end of the whoop section. I thought, that can't be good. And then, yeah, sure enough, you see Lux Turner getting up and getting assisted by the medics out of the venue, holding both wrists. Things didn't turn out well. We talked to him post-race as well on our interviews. He has confirmed as well since that point that he did, in fact, break his right wrist and just sprained behind his left. So luckily for him, he'll be able to at least figure out to wipe his own butt, because if you have both of them in cast, it's a little bit interesting to try and get those hands back there. But anyway, hopefully things are okay in that side of things for him. But he is now out of this championship despite leading it quite comfortably leading into round 4. So with that shake up in the points, Luck still, even though missing that complete round there, he's still currently in 3rd, but he's probably going to drop out of that position by the end of Adelaide. Reece Budd's nipping at his heels there in 4th. So is Wilson Todd, but Wilson had his own issues there with some foot or toe breaks that happened for him. So he had a rough night as well, Wilson Todd. Now, back at the top of this SX1 is Ryder Kingsford. Now, he has got a 12-point gap over local South Australian this weekend, Alex Larwood there on the Honda. So if you remember, Alex Larwood had a really good year a really good race, I should say, in Adelaide last year. Obviously had a lot of hometown support, found his way onto the podium there. I dare say he'll be looking to do similar this year down there in Adelaide, and that might be enough to haul back in that 12-point gap. But Ryder Kingsford has to play this smart this weekend. One, obviously, this smaller track there in Adelaide, they've both got to make sure they make the main event and get a reasonable start, and then things should play out from there. So we'll see how that plays out. But that class is going to be interesting to watch on Saturday night in Adelaide to see who gets the job done. At the moment, it's Kingsford over Larwood over Turner, but like we said, Turner's probably going to drop out. Reece Budd might be the chance to get into 3rd in this championship, which would be a massive confidence boost for him. Again, spoke to him after the race. He led some laps there in that first moto in Marvel after a great start and started to look a bit like the Reece Budd of old, which was good to see after a few issues, a few rough seasons with injury, team changes. He seemed to have found himself a bit of a home finally with Empire Kawasaki. Hopefully, he can finish this out in Adelaide and get himself into that 3rd in the championship. All right, SX3 side of things, let's touch into it as well while we're here. Again, massive change in the point standings. Cade Kingsford came in with a massive points gap over Ryder Malinowski and Jack Devson. But again, an issue in the main event saw Cade Kingsford DNF. Now, I've checked in with Cade this week, today actually, and he's confirmed that he will be racing in Adelaide. As per the message I've got on my phone in my Instagram DMs, Cade is racing Adelaide. So hopefully that's good for him. Hopefully that means that he's A-OK. There's nothing broken. Hopefully he can ride at 100 or close to 100%, because it'd be disappointing if he's just out there trying to, salvage some points, considering the season he's had so far. But at this point, he has lost 6 points in this championship to Ryder Malinowski. Ryder Malinowski is now your red plate holder heading into Adelaide. Jack Devson is in 2nd, 3 points back on that Husqvarna, the 254. But then Cade Kingsford, 72. He's actually tied with Jet Alsop, his teammate on the Honda there, for 3rd in the championship. So those top 4, anyone in that top 4 from Alsop, Kingsford, Devson and Malinowski are in a chance to win this, but it is a single main event for them. So one race to win it all, basically. And yeah, look, Malinowski's got the upper hand at this stage. But if he finishes 2nd, he's got this done. So he needs to finish 2nd. Doesn't have to win. He can finish 2nd to Devson, or he can finish 3rd to Kingsford if Kingsford wins. So he's got a little bit of breathing room, but very minor. So that's going to be interesting to watch as well. Now, while we're here, let's flip over to the 85cc Cup. There's only one man to really talk about in this one, and that's Blake Bohannon. The kid has won all 4 motos easily. He's whole shot. He's led all the laps pretty much. I think if not all of them. He's actually, with only one race to go, he's already won the title by the point scores there. He's 30 points up, and you can only get 25 for a race win. So he will be the 85cc Cup champ. So well done to Yamaha mounted Blake Bohannon. Awesome ride. He's only young, he's only small, he's not going to be progressing up a class just yet. He'll probably be back in the 85s next year. One thing I think he needs to work on, obviously, is his size. He's such a small little kid. He'll probably grow here shortly. But I'm yet to see him blitz the whoops. I know he's jumping them really well and consistently, but if he wants to be a good supercross rider in the future, he's going to have to learn that skill as well. So let's see what he does. Maybe that's something he puts in the back of the mind to learn for next year's thing when he gets a bit bigger, because I think that's part of the problem at the moment. I don't think he's big enough to quite do it. So he's playing it safe, and he's obviously very capable on the rest of the track. All right, let's flip our screen back and we'll keep talking here on the AlwaysMoto podcast. What's next? I'm going to have a little bit of a, dig here. Our Australian number system, I've brought this up previously. The numbering system in Australia is terrible. I'm going to make note of something. On press day, I think it was. Let me think this through. Press day. Yeah, it was. Apart from Ryder Malinowski, who wasn't on track because they didn't invite any SX3 people, fair enough. But we had Lux Turner out on track, number 9 on a Yamaha. We had Aaron Tanti out on track, number 9 on a Yamaha. We also had Adam Cincerulo out on track, number 9, luckily on a Kawasaki. But we had 3 number 9s on track at once on press day when we're trying to promote this to the casual fan to come and buy a ticket. How confusing is that? And then if you throw in the fact that Ryder Malinowski is number 9 on a Yamaha, we essentially have 3 Yamahas with 9 planted on it, and then we're throwing in a 4th one with a 9 on it that just rides out during, opening ceremonies and then never to be seen again. I don't know how we can do this. We've got to figure this out moving forward. We can't have repeat numbers in a championship that we're trying to promote to people that aren't necessarily great fans of the sport to come and buy tickets. It needs to be much clearer. We need to do that system like the AMA where you earn a number and there's no repeat numbers, and anyone who doesn't earn a number has to take a 3-digit. That's the only way that we can get this, and no duplicates of it. If you're riding Supercross, there's nobody with the same number. It has to be done. AMA, make this happen. It's too confusing. We can't have 4 number 9s on track. That's ridiculous. All right, let's get down to business for this weekend. Obviously, Adelaide's happening. We've just run through those championship standings for the Australian Supercross. But from the other side of it, the clash of series, let's say, World Supercross versus Australian Supercross. Unfortunately, this is the weekend where it's all gone sideways, and they're on the same time in 2 different states, in 2 different parts of the Australian country. So you can't get to both. You can't have the riders do both series. Everything's separate. It's ridiculous. But World Supercross is on the Gold Coast this weekend. Seabus Super Stadium is the venue for it there in Robina. It's technically the suburb there, but they're calling it the Gold Coast because it's pretty much right there. Now, interestingly enough, been looking at the venue, transport towards it and getting towards the venue is going to be very interesting. There is no parking at this event, unfortunately. There's no parking lot nearby. There's no street parking. They do special event parking permits only through that area. So unless you live in the area, you can't park on the streets. So you have to basically use some form of public transport or be dropped off and picked up by, significant other, etc. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the ticket sales and everybody in and out of the venue. But otherwise, the race that is this weekend will be basically the SX1 class, Tomac versus Roczen. Tomac's your wild card in 2025, despite holding the number 1 plate because he did the entire series last year. He's on that KDM again. He had a pretty good run there in Vancouver last time out for the World Supercross Series. Kenny didn't keep with him completely through that one. They split. Kenny took one of the 3 wins away that night from Tomac, but Tomac, will see after having another couple of weeks on the KDM, does he step up even further, or does he actually find things a bit different being on another surface in another country, etc. So we'll see how that plays out, but I believe that that's where the race is going to be for SX1, is between Tomac and Roczen. The thing that we'll keep an eye on, but Jason Anderson, Hayden Deegan, these 2 have the ability to step up into that battle with Tomac and Roczen. And I say that because they're both progressing, learning new bikes. Now for Jason Anderson, it's the fact that he's learning the new Pipes Motorsport Group's Team Suzuki bike. And for Hayden Deegan, it's obviously that step from the 250 to the 450. Now, Deegan had a little bit of a disadvantage in his opening race that he did with World Supercross because he didn't get his gate pick in their system that they'd used to, for the entire night. He then got last gate pick because he didn't get it in on time. Ideally, he's learnt from that boo-boo, and that doesn't happen again this time around. So hopefully he has a better start position, which will then potentially improve his overall results. But like I said, the fact that he's had a couple more weeks on a 450, same with Jason Anderson with the Suzuki, do we see them step up? Because I saw significant improvement in Jason Anderson, particularly last time out in Vancouver. You can start to see the Jason Anderson of old, and I think that Suzuki's actually really going to suit him if he applies himself and the team applies themselves as well. So keep an eye on those two guys as well. But look, the SX1 class is kind of between Rox and Tomac for this weekend. Roxon's got a massive points lead in this one. We'll get to the championship standings here in a second, but still no real confirmation over what Roxon is doing, if he's technically a wild card or if he's doing the whole series. It's sort of up in the air. We'll try and find that out over the course of the weekend, and we'll put something out about that if we do confirm that either way. But the interesting post that I saw from World Supercross on the social channels this week was the battle for second place, and I felt that was a bit of a degrading comment towards Jason Anderson, Christian Craig and Joey Savacci, but that is essentially what they are battling for at the moment. It just didn't seem right that the series promoters were putting that out there on the socials as well. Anyway, they did, but that's for the other guys involved in the series. That's where they're at this stage. Savacci and Christian Craig, obviously with the Quadlock Honda team, the Australian-based team, and Yuriv Konski. They have a signing going on with AME as well. Not AME, AMX, I should say. AMX stores up there. So they're doing that on the Friday night before the event. There's plenty of actual signings at local dealerships going on because of this event, which is kind of cool. I've been a part of some of those in the States, and those are actually really good nights. You get a chance to get up close and personal, meet the riders, get things signed. They have a bit more time than they do on the race days when they're doing signing lines. So if you're anywhere near any of those, you should go and check them out. They're actually a really good night. But yeah, that's the SX1 class. As much as Savacci and Craig are in there, they're just not on the same level as Tomac, Roxon, Anderson, Deegan. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. Maybe they can get in there and spoil it. We'll see. In the 250 side of things, it's been nothing but Max Anstey, right? SX2 has been Max Anstey all the way. I brought up to Shane McElrath in our post-race interview my theory about the Star Racing bike being just a step above his equipment and his readiness, because that team, the Star team, just has all that stuff, all that factory knowledge. They're running so many bikes. They just have such a big program that they know all the ins and outs of that Yamaha and how to prepare it and how to send it overseas, etc. That I just feel that consistency and availability of parts and whatnot is just a touch above what the Quadlock guys are capable of, and if that was causing a little gap for McElrath. And he didn't quite exactly answer my question, but I got that because I feel like he was sort of somewhat answering it sideways, if that makes sense. But McElrath is battling that clutch and trying to work out what to do with it on the 250 since stepping back to it for these World Series and Oz Supercross Series. But Max Anstey is just dominating. He's won every moto in this SX2 class for World Supercross. So the question is, will he do the same thing here on the Gold Coast this weekend? I can't see why he wouldn't, is the short answer, right? Again, that Star bike is so good off the start lines compared to the other bikes that he's racing. He's actually in a very good position. He's raced plenty of Australian Supercrosses before, obviously a couple of times Australian Supercross champion in the SX2 class with Yuriv. And just the fact that McElrath has just been so inconsistent recently. He might turn it around, and hopefully he does, but I just don't know if he's going to do enough to outdo Anstey in that Star Racing Yamaha. We'll see. Hopefully he does. Become quite a fan of Shane McElrath in recent weeks for his post-race interviews and time for us here on the AlwaysMoto podcast. He spots us coming and he even just walks over and starts talking to us about getting an interview done. So I really like I appreciate the fact that he's doing that for us. Not many riders do that. So yeah, really cool. Become a bit of a fan of him. As much as he does do the whole, praise the Lord when he starts his interviews, and not everyone is as, Christian as he is, or, believing in the faith as such. If you look past that, Shane's an awesome dude. So just think of it that way. In terms of other riders coming in, we were trying to get Caleb Barham on the show this weekend, the Aussie Supercross rider. He's actually wildcarding this weekend at the World Supercross, which is cool. I wasn't expecting too many people, if any, to be doing this, but he hasn't had, a stellar, let's say, Australian Supercross series. He's not in the championship points hunt, as we just discovered when we we're doing that points wrap-up there for the Oz series. So why not take a chance and jump in the World Supercross? Maybe you make a name for yourself. Maybe you get a whole shot, lead a couple laps. That opens a door or something somewhere for next year for him. So why not? He's a privateer. He gets to choose where he does and doesn't ride. Why not take a chance in World Supercross? So I'm very impressed that Caleb Byram is doing that. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to him on a post-race or something over the weekend. It'd be awesome to have him on our show, but awesome to see what he can do this weekend. All right, let's switch our camera screen over here. We're going to get our World Supercross screen up. So let's get this one back on here. Single man band here. All right, these are the events. So these are the standings. Here's your SX2 standings. Obviously, Anstey with that perfect score there, 90 points over. So he's got, 16 points over Cody Schock. Cody Schock's actually had a pretty good run here. Now, Cody is a chance at a podium and a win, and definitely a win. So is Enzo Lopes. So is Shane Macros. So is Cole Thompson. So is Colin Park. That top 6, even Kyle Peters got in the mix at the last round. There is a chance that those from 2 to 7 there on the screen get in the mix for race wins and race podiums. But Anstey has been next level so far. So they're going to have to do something special to break that from Max. Or Max make his own mistake. But all of those guys there that we've just listed, they're capable. Obviously, Cole Thompson's coming off a massive confidence-boosting weekend from AUSXOpen. So maybe Cole's a sneaky pick here. He was very confident afterwards. He wants to go and get a win in World Supercross. Maybe this is the weekend because he's already been here for the week. He knows what to expect. He's already on the right time zones. Could be a good pick for this weekend. Keep an eye on that one. All right, if we scroll down a bit further, Michael Hicks is actually out this weekend. He was with the Stark team. He has been replaced. He's no longer with that team. And I can't remember the rider that's been replaced him by. No, sorry, not Michael Hicks. Lance Kobush, wrong Stark rider. Lance Kobush is out of the Stark team. So Michael Hicks is still there. Michael Hicks has been the best Stark rider so far, but they've replaced Lance Kobush with one of their previous riders who was with them for the UK Arena Cross. He's been on their Stark Files, a YouTube series. I just can't remember his name right this second, and I can't look it up while I've got too many things streaming. The internet everything will shut down, so we'll get to that later. So we'll have to keep an eye on Michael Hicks. Hopefully the Stark guys have got something sorted out here and made some improvements, because so far, when we get down to it, their team championship in the World Supercross side of things, they are last, unfortunately. So, all right, we'll keep scrolling down. SX1, here is the leaders here. As you can see, Ken Roxon, 20-point lead over Jason Anderson currently. Christian Craig's in third. Joey Savacci, Greg Aranda, Austin Politelli. We start from 5th down. We're starting to get out of the ability. Like you can see the points gap from there, from 4th, from 53 points down to 32. Henry Miller, we were talking to Henry this week, trying to get him on the show. He's actually basically going to be getting on a plane anytime soon, and he's not arriving until Friday morning. And he said he's basically going straight from the airport to a press event. So not sure exactly what that is. He said something in the desert. I haven't got any details on our media activities for this weekend in terms of schedules and where to be yet. Hopefully we'll get that tomorrow. And yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, Henry coming in rather late to World Supercross on the Gold Coast from his base there in Texas. All right, so yeah, like I said, this championship basically is out there with Kenny at the moment, but whether he does all 5 rounds depends on whether he's going to be your champion or not. In terms of the team standings, Quadlock Honda's doing nicely there at the top, 4 points over Pipes Motorsport Group. Rick Ware's up there as well. They're doing quite nicely. But like I said, if we scroll down further, unfortunately, Stark is somewhat further back. They obviously missed a bunch with Vince Freeze in that opening race where he had the crash and then wasn't able to restart for the second moto, so he completely got no points there. And then, yeah, they just haven't had a great run with all of their riders, hence probably why Lance Kobush, either he's injured or he's no longer with the team for other reasons. That wasn't quite clear that I read in that press release. So anyway, World Supercross. Catch the fever. Now, what will the crowds be like this week? Obviously, we just said Marvel had a massive crowd last week, but this week being the AUSX Supercross in Adelaide, that's partnered with the Supercars event. I don't know how well that's going to go from a pure Supercross fan going to it. or whether they've all decided to go to the Gold Coast. So I'm very curious to see how this date clash between these two series promoters, which I still feel is the dumbest thing ever, how that clash goes in terms of the crowd attendance for both venues. I feel like Australian Supercross will be okay because it's such a smaller venue and smaller grandstand, and they get the bump. The tickets cross over from Supercars to Supercross, so I feel like they'll be okay. Curious how World Supercross goes. Very, very curious how this one plays out. All right, that's our Supercross wrap. Let's talk about a couple other things here. One, part of Marvel on the weekend, we managed to get ourselves, there was another press event going on throughout the day. We managed to sneak out of the Marvel venue and up to the press event that was going on for Stephen Gall. Stephen Gall is a legend in the motocross series in Australia from a few years back, obviously, through that 80s, 90s period there, or early 90s, I should say. Gawley, multiple time Mr. Motocross champ, Australian champ, sprint car winner, done everything you can think of just about with motorcycles, does adventure riding now he's in his 60s or whatever it is he's now. But yeah, Stephen Gall launched his book. They have a pre-sale that's going to go on very shortly. Now, the book itself is called No Easy Way, the Stephen Gall story. So that No Easy Way title is actually the website address as well. So it's www.noeasyway.com.au. Now, if you head to that website, you'll be able to purchase yourself or purchase the pre-sale of the book. The book itself, from what they said, isn't going to be available because it's not actually finished yet. They have done something like 13 or whatever chapters of 18 or whatever it was that they were getting to. But the pre-sale is to try and help guide the number of books that they'll print overall. Now, so that's important for Stephen. If you can get in there and if you want to buy one of his books, buy it during the pre-sale. So jump on that website, purchase it, and it will help him get more of these books printed, which will then help him in the overall sales and marketing of it. So, and we've spoken with Stephen a little bit. We're going to get him on the podcast here at some point after this Supercross season to promote it. But it's going to be a cool book. It's going to cover all sorts of stuff. There was some pretty cool stories. I don't know if anyone out there remembers, there's a photo of Stephen. It's black and white, I'm pretty sure. And he's riding along and he's got the front tire hooked up over the handlebars and he's riding on the front, bare front rim. He talks about that story in the book. He talks about the time that he's training with James Stewart. He talks about all sorts of stuff. He had Craig Dack there talking about the book. He had Kyle Webster there because obviously Stephen has been a part of the Motocross of Nations teams recently, or even for many years. He was a rider. He's a team member. He's now part of the coaching staff. He talks about his AIS time. Stephen was the guy that got the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, to bring on a motocross program. So all of these stories are going to be in this book. So it was cool to be a part of that little press event, that release of that book. We've got some photos and stuff. We'll put some of this content out over the next few days. And obviously when we get to talk to Stephen. But yeah, the main part of this, jump on that website, noeasyway.com.au, buy a book for their pre-sale. I think it'll be a cool read. It's going to be, I think they said it was like 300 by 312 or something book size. It's like a hardcover coffee table top book apparently. So not like a paperback. It's going to be a bit more of a sturdier construction, let's say. But there's going to be plenty of pictures in it. Obviously being motocross, there's plenty of pictures that are going to go along with this. So it's going to be an interesting book. I'm going to get myself one when it is out and about. All right. The last thing we're going to cover here, because actually two more things. I'm going to bring it up, even though the contract is not here. One more thing promotion-wise. The Quad Lock Black Friday sale is still going on. It's on until December 3rd. You can get 30% off. They asked me to plug it. I'm doing it. But mind you, there's plenty of cool stuff at Quad Lock that you can get. So, cables, the covers, the locks for whatever mounting point you need, your handlebar, your steering wheel, your dash, whatever, off a drink bottle, they've got them. Check out Quad Lock Australia's website. You get that Black Friday sale. All right, while the contractor's not here, I'm going to make a little bit of fun of him. Well, I'm not going to really do that. One, we got a photo. He's a massive AC fan. We got him a photo with AC and Marvel. He was stoked. job done. But our championship picks is what I'm getting at here from before the Australian Supercross series. Now, we had a bit of a shocker here with these picks, but some of them have come back around, surprisingly, from my side of things. Now, in the SX3, let's start there. Both of us picked Ryder Malinowski. Now, we were looking terrible. We're actually looking okay at the minute, but it's not done yet. So both of us have Ryder Malinowski for the championship. We've got fingers crossed that can come off. In the 250 class, the contractor picked Brodie Conley. Unfortunately, did one session and never rode again. So that's no good. Sorry, Benny. For my 250 pick, I picked Ryder Kingsford. Now, all of a sudden, I look like a genius, but it was not looking good there. Lux Turner was looking like the man for that particular class. So, anyway, looks like I might be able to get 2 out of 3 here. In the 450 class, the contractor picked Mitchell Harrison. That has not gone like I thought it was. When I interviewed Mitchell Harrison at round 1 press day at Redcliffe, he was super confident, thought he was going to win, at least thought he was capable of winning. He hasn't even got on the podium, I don't think, which is shocking. But, yeah, there's more in Mitchell Harrison than he's giving out at the moment. But, from a championship point of view, not good for the contractor to pick Mitchell Harrison. For me, I picked Cedric Subaros. I'm second in championship, but we picked against Dino, both of us, because he was under the weather, or under a bit of an injury cloud coming into the series, and he's definitely not been that way. He almost got the wins there in Marvel as well, even with the Lawrences. He was well and truly in it. But yeah, he is the man. So unless something catastrophic happens to Dino in Adelaide before the main events, he's pretty much got it. So at best, I'm looking at 2 out of 3. At best, Benny's looking at 1 out of 3. So, yeah, we both had shockers picking the championship picks. Benny, we didn't do a very good job there. But anyway, we've never really done a good job. All right, look, short show this weekend. We're going to finish it up there. We're going to carry on. Well, actually, let's quickly talk about the TV coverage and the weather for these weekend's races, and then we'll wrap it up. Obviously, for World Supercross, if you're in Australia, you can watch the World Supercross on 7+. If you're international, you need to head to the worldsupercrosschampionship.com/watch. That will give you the how to watch in your region. For the Australian Supercross, it's KO Freebies, which is part of Fox Sports. But KO Freebies, it's DAZN, that DAZN website or streaming site for American listeners, watchers. But you need to check out their website to find it, to make sure that you are watching from the right platform. But Aussie KO Freebies. The only thing about this weekend is I don't know how the KO Freebies is going to go for Sunday. I don't know if they're going to have it for the 85s and the SX3 class, which is Sunday's races. But SX2 and SX1 are on Saturday night. That will be broadcast on KO Freebies. So you have to check the others closer to the day as to whether they're going to have something on Sunday or not. Weather updates. Let's do Gold Coast first for World Supercross. Actually, Adelaide and Gold Coast, they're both outdoor venues, so there is potential for weather impacts here. For the Gold Coast, it is the most potential for weather. There is a chance of rain. It said something like 6 mil across the day when I checked the weather app earlier. That's not good signs. It's also between 22 and 27 degrees. There's 81% humidity, and the weather was basically across the entire day. The Gold Coast being northern part of Australia, not completely that far north, but northern, coastal, it's very much that tropical sort of weather. It'll be sunny and warm 1 minute, and then it'll be pissing down rain the next. That's what they've been having this week so far, so their track build might be interesting this week as well. I'm not sure how well that's going so far. I haven't seen anything on that side of things just yet. But there is a potential for rain on race day in the Gold Coast, so bring your raincoat if you're heading out to Seabus Super Stadium. In terms of Adelaide, it's going to be sunny, 12 to 17 degrees, but 12 to 17 degrees, you're going to need a jumper. It's Adelaide. It's going to be cold. So take a jumper with you to Adelaide, you'll be fine. All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Upcoming events, obviously World Supercross this weekend in Gold Coast, AUSXOpen in Adelaide. The following weekend, December 6th, is round 4 of the World Supercross in Sweden. The weekend after, the 16th of December, is round 5 and the final round of World Supercross in South Africa. That's all the events until January, when AMA kicks off. So great show. Thanks for you guys and girls out there for watching and listening. Don't forget to send us your t-shirt orders to info@alwaysmoto.com so we can get you some t-shirts and you rock them at the next race. That'd be cool. We want to see them out and about. Don't forget to follow on socials. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on here, on YouTube, and on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you listen to it. But subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be very much appreciated. If you're checking out our written articles, you need to head to fullnoise.com.au. We've got all of our inspection articles, bike tests, etc. They're written up over there on Full Noise. Thank you to Gary over there for having us. But that's it for another show. Thanks to technicmotorsport.com, Duramoose, Pivot Pegs, Competitive Edge Performance, Tech 167 3D Printing for all of the show support. Thanks to the wife and kids for letting me get this done. Thanks to the contractor for helping out when he can. Not tonight, you do, Jack. Joking. But that's it. We'll see you at the track.